رمضان يا خير الشهور يا فضل رحمن غفور
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ليس عليك هداهم ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء وما تنفقوا من خير فلأنفسكم وما تنفقون إلا ابتغاء وجه الله وما تنفقوا من خير يوفى عليكم وأنتم لا تظلمون. It is not thy responsibility to make them follow the right path, but Allah guides whomsoever He pleases. And whatever of wealth you spend, it is for yourselves, while you spend not, but to seek the favor of Allah. And whatever of wealth you spend, it shall be paid back to you in full, and you shall not be wronged. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 273. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm going to talk about one of the 5 pillars of Islam, zakat, or compulsory giving. The system of financial sacrifice in the Jama'at is based not only on the need for funds, but on a philosophy that cannot be fully understood unless one becomes aware of this need as expounded by the promised Messiah ﷺ in numerous passages of his sayings and writings. The book, An Introduction to Financial Sacrifice, is a must-read for every Ahmadi to be able to fully understand the divinely inspired philosophy behind financial sacrifice in the Jama'at, and also to pass this understanding on to our younger generations. So let's first take a look at the word sacrifice. What is the meaning of sacrifice? Sacrifice is an act of offering to a deity something that is precious. Currently, we are going through the month of Ramadan. Most of us are fasting. Most of us are saying our salat in congregation at the masjid. Why are we doing so? Because they are commandments of Allah. We would all agree that salat appears in the Holy Quran many times. It actually appears over 90 times. So it's a commandment of Allah that we say our prayers. Well, if we look at the word spending of wealth, that actually appears over 102 times in the Quran. So would we not agree that spending wealth for the sake of Allah is also a commandment of Allah? Let's listen to a clip of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih regarding this.
اللہ تعالیٰ کی راہ میں خرچ کرنا اللہ تعالیٰ کے بنیادی حکموں میں سے ایک حکم ہے. قرآن کریم کے شروع میں ہی اللہ تعالیٰ نے نماز کے حکم کے ساتھ ہی مالی قربانی کے بارے میں بھی فرما دیا. جیسے کہ فرمایا یقیمون الصلاۃ ومما رزقناہم ینفقون، نماز کو قائم کرتے ہیں اور جو کچھ ہم نے ان کو دیا ہے اس میں سے خرچ کرتے ہیں. تو اللہ تعالیٰ کا قرب پانے کے لیے، اس کی رضا حاصل کرنے کے لیے جہاں اس کی عبادت کرنا ضروری ہے، وہاں اس کی راہ میں اپنی پاک کمائی میں سے خرچ کرنا بھی ضروری ہے. اور یہی چیز ہے جس سے تزکیہ نفس بھی ہوتا ہے. مال سے محبت کم ہوتی ہے اور اللہ کی رضا حاصل کرنے کی ایک مومن کوشش کرتا ہے.
So there are various donation heads where one can contribute Chanda towards in the Jama'at. Let's look at what the various heads are and what their prescribed rates are. So first of all is zakat, again one of the 5 pillars of Islam. The rate for zakat is 2.5% of one's cash money, capital, stock, tradable assets, including jewelry in gold and silver, which was in possession for 1 full year. There's some other details such as a minimum assessable limit. I won't go into that here, but there is a Chanda calculator available on chanda.ahmadiyya.us to help you determine the amount of zakat. Next are fitrana and fidya. Again, we're going to the month of Ramadan. These are typically when these are paid. Fidya is a recompense for the lost opportunity to observe the fast, and the rate is set at a minimum of $5 per day here in the US. Fitrana or Sadqatul Fitr is an obligatory chanda on every member, including newborns, that should be paid before Eid. Again, the rate is $5 per person. Next are obligatory chanda, which are due on one's income. So normally one would pay chanda am, which is 1/16 of one's take-home income. But if one chooses to become a musi and join Nizam-e Wasiyat, then instead of chanda am, they would pay chanda wasiyat at the rate of 1/10 to 1/3 of their take-home income, as determined by the musi. And then finally, chanda jalsa salana is due at 1/20th of one's take-home income, regardless if you are musi or a non-musi. So what these chandas allow is a collection of a fair portion of one's income, which is equal for all those that are rich or poor. If we look in this society, are there any funds that are collected to run an organization or society? Yes. How does the US do it? Or how does the state of Michigan do that? Well, they take a portion of your income to help run the state. However, if one truly has financial hardship, there is a way to ask for forgiveness of these chandajat. Let's listen to Hazur describing how that process should be submitted.
कहें देखो तुम्हारी मजबूरियां हैं, तुम नहीं चंदा दे सकते तो ना दो, लेकिन कम से कम निज़ाम जमात को बता दो कि मैं इस शरह से या कम शरह से चंदा दे सकता हूँ. उनको ये कहना अगर टोटल माफ़ कराना है तो वो भी अगर हालात ऐसे हैं तो माफ़ हो जाएगा, लेकिन अगर कम शरह से देना है तो फिर भी देना चाहिए. तो ईमानदारी का तकादा तो यही है कि बताया जाए. ये तो उनको ऐसा ऐसा प्यार से समझाते रहा करें. आप समझाना ही हमारा काम है, इससे ज़्यादा हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते.
जी हजूर, वो मान जाते हैं, वो मतलब इस सलूशन को भी एक्सेप्ट करते हैं जब बात होती है, लेकिन वो एप्लीकेशन जो है ना वो प्रोसेस करने में झिझकते हैं. उनको शायद शर्मिंदगी महसूस होती है कि शायद
उनसे कहें मुझे बराह रास्त ख़त लिख दिया करें, आपको ना दिया करें, वो आपको ना दिया करें, वो मुझे बराह रास्त लिखा करें.
सही, जज़ाकल्लाह.
So here Hazur has clearly laid out the process on how to adjust one's chanda am payment. It's not only enough to let the finance secretary know or let the Sadr know that I will be paying a lower amount or no chanda at all. And one cannot just decide that, no, I'm not going to pay any chanda. You have to first seek permission from Hazrat Khalifatul Masih. Back in 2020, respected Amir Saab had sent a few questions to Hazur, and here's the response that was received. Hazur says, inform the auxiliary members who pay their auxiliary membership chanda but do not pay their Jama'at obligatory chanda that they should pay their Jama'at obligatory chanda first and then their auxiliary chanda. You can accept Tariq Jadid and Waqf Jadid from members, but in the meantime, remind them of paying the obligatory chanda according to their income. So sometimes we see members pay their auxiliary chanda first and then either not pay their Jamaat obligatory Chanda, or they contribute towards Tariqa Jadid and Waqf Jadid, but are lacking behind in their obligatory Chanda Jat. So here Hazur has clearly explained what the priority should be. So how many different types of Chanda are there? We hear about Chanda Am, Jalsa Salana, Tariqa Jadid, or request for mosque fund, or Yatama, for example. Any guesses? Well, there's actually over 165 donation heads that one can contribute towards here in the U.S. When a finance secretary receives Chanda, he has the option to select, or the member has the option to select any one of these. This is just page 1 of the list that shows up in the software. So again, how does one decide which Chanda needs to be paid first? Here is another clip from our beloved Huzur.
I'm from the Northwest region, Sadia Kalahan. My question, beloved Hazur, is out of all the contributions, Chanda Am, Wasiyat, Tariqa Jadid, Waqf Jadid, Humanity First, so all the amazing British charities, are any one of them more blessed than the others? And in your mind, are some, once you've done your obligatory ones, which ones are more important?
Obligatory one is important because that is your commitment. See, you have committed that being a member of the Ahmadiyya community, I will pay, provided you are an earning member, I will pay this much amount on my income. If you are a Musi, 1/10. If you are non-Musi, then 1/16. But, and there are some other chandas like Tariqa Jadid and Waqf Jadid. And that is also your obligation to some extent. But apart from that, you have, if you have surplus money, or if you feel that you should pay for other charities, then of course you have an option, you can do it. I pay for other charities. I am a member of Save the Children and some other charities in Britain and international charities even. So once I paid for them, and now they have been very particular in sending me their, whenever they raise any appeal, they send me their letter that kindly pays some amount. So I do pay to them. So it is up to you. But remember that you have some obligation. After having discharged that obligation, then you are free to do whatever you like.
So again, here Hazur tells us that yes, there are many types of Chanda and you should participate in many of them. Some of the schemes are divinely guided. We should participate, at least make sure we participate in as many schemes as we can. However, we must make the obligatory Chanda our first priority. So we've looked at the different types of Chanda and where one can contribute. Now let's look at what the budget process is for the Jama'at and how the money is spent. So as we just went through the budget process recently over the last few months, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu states, budget is the most important matter which Majlis-e Shura has to deal with. It is impossible for you to point out all the different needs of the Jama'at on one hand and not be willing to fulfill the minimum required set budget on the other hand. So the budget process starts in the December-January timeframe, and the reason behind that is the Jama'at fiscal year starts on July 1st. So we work backward from that date. And in order to hit all the milestones, we have to start collecting budget in the December-January timeframe. So that starts with asking members to provide their income budget for the next fiscal year. That data gets compiled by the National Finance Department into a budget document. and is first presented to a finance committee in the February timeframe. Then presented to National Majlis-e-Amla in March, which took place here recently, and then is presented to Shura in April, which is coming up in a few weeks. Once Majlis-e-Shura goes through all its deliberations, the proposed budget is sent to Hazrat Khalifat al-Masih for his approval in time for the new year that starts in July. Here we look at a breakdown of, once the budget is prepared, where the different line items, how much of it stays here as a national share to run the USA Jama'at, and how much gets sent to Markaz, in this case London. I won't go into all the details, but in total, approximately 1/3 of it goes to Markaz, and 2/3 of it stays here in the US. Again, for the Jama'at here in the US to run its day-to-day operations. The Promised Messiah ﷺ has said, "Every sincere member of this divine institution must make a covenant, promising that I will pay this much Chanda. For Allah Almighty places immense blessing in the rizq or sustenance of one who makes a promise and covenant in the way of Allah." So here we see that not only just paying Chanda is not the only thing. We also have to make a promise or a pledge on how much we are going to pay. That is where half the blessings come from. So this chart is a visual of the next year's Chanda budget being compiled by the National Finance Team. As you can see here on the left, you have the various categories where income will be coming in from. So Chanda Wasiyat, Chanda Jalsa Salana, for example. That gets combined into one total. And then from there, 1/3 of it goes to Markaz, and about 2/3 stays here for the USA Jama'at to run its day-to-day expenses. It's further broken down into different areas, so establishment, national Amla and departments, general, local Jama'ats, and other, which is primarily mosque repairs. But basically it shows a full transparency of where the funds are coming from and down to the dollar where they are planned to be spent. As a Jama'at member, everyone has the right to ask their Shura delegate after Shura to see what the Jama'at's budget is for the next fiscal year, where the funds come from and where they will be spent. So we've covered Chanda Jats, we've covered budgets, how the funds are collected and where they are spent. I would like to spend the last few minutes talking about a desire or wish of our beloved Huzur. When our mother or our father asks us to do something, would we not respond in the positive and say yes in order to please our mother and father? And Huzur is a spiritual father to us. Inni maka ya masroor, a revelation of Allah to the Promised Messiah, salam. Surely I am with you, O Masroor. How many here would agree to this statement or stand for this statement? We all would. Inni maka ya Masroor. In 2004, a few years before the centenary celebration of the Jama'at, Huzur's wish was that members in every Jama'at of every country of the world, as are earning and Chanda paying, at least 50% of them enroll in the grand scheme of Nizam-e-Wasiyat. Here we are, almost 20 years later, and we have yet to reach that mark. The revelation of the will, or al-wasiyat, was given to the promised Messiah alayhi salam. A warner came unto the world, but the world accepted him not. Yet God shall accept him and demonstrate his truthfulness with mighty assaults. So at the beginning of the presentation, we all agreed that salat, fasting, and spending in the way of Allah is a commandment of Allah. And we all stand by the statement, surely I am with you, O Masroor. Inni ma'aka ya Masroor. So then why have we not yet fulfilled the desire, the wish of our beloved Huzur? Sometimes we hear from members stating that they are not pious enough, or they are concerned about the higher prescribed rate. Well, here are the 10 conditions of Bai'at. As an Ahmadi, we all claim to be Ahmadis. Are we fulfilling each and every point, each and every condition of Bai'at? Maybe some of us are, maybe some of us are not. But at least we strive to reach the level that is expected of us. The same goes for Nizam-e-Wasiyat. I know myself, I don't consider myself pious enough, but joining Nizam-e-Wasiyat, you at least strive to get to that level that is expected of us. The other concern sometimes is the higher prescribed rate. What value would you put on prayers? Have we ever asked anyone to pray for us? We may have an exam, or we may be traveling, or we may be sick, and you may ask your brother or your mother or a friend to pray. We've all done it. Well, the promised Messiah has left a treasure trove of prayers for those who have joined Nizam-e-Wasiyat. So what are we saying? That no, we don't need the prayers of the Prophet of the age. We would rather save 4 cents on the dollar than get the blessings of all these prayers. That's basically what it comes down to. So again, I urge members to please think about joining Nizam-e-Wasiyat. We may not be pious enough today, but we will strive to be more pious. And saving 4 cents on the dollar, what is more important? Saving those 4 cents, or getting the blessings of the prayers that were left for those that are for those that join Nizam-e-Wasiyat. Inni ma'aka ya Masroor. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
محمد رسول الله